You getting emails, boy?
It's all good.
It's all good.
Nothing but good news, man. It's just a wave of yummy treats.
Nice.
In my inbox.
Our next song is Make Me Rainbows. Do you want to guess when this song was written?
1972.
No, 1967.
Wow. By John Williams. Back when he was known as Johnny Williams. Yeah.
It was written by John Williams and also Alan Bergman.
Alan and Marilyn Bergman.
And his wife, Marilyn Bergman. Yeah. So you get to take it away with a little story about the song.
This is how this one came to be. So this song, Make Me Rainbows, is sort of probably the most obscure song on the project, would you say?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
In fact, it's sort of, I think Ella Fitzgerald kind of had a hit with it, but it's been sung by a million people. But it was during the pandemic, it was Alan Bergman's 90th birthday. And a few of us were asked to create some music to sort of use in the celebration, the Zoom celebration for his 90th birthday. And you know, I was so honored and sort of shocked to get to do that. So I had known through the grapevine, because I've been working with him for a long time, that that's one of his favorite songs. He really likes that song. And a lot of people don't know that. So I was like, I'm going to do that song. And then, you know, I knew it pretty well. And I thought, well, there's some places that this song could go. And then as I got into it, it went totally other directions. And as I was doing it, I thought, he's either going to like this or totally hate it.
There's no in between.
Because, you know, there were a lot of serious jazz artists involved in this call and this celebration and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, we kind of took it in a different direction. So I remember it's another example when I said, "Here, Kalen, can you do this?" And you're like, "Oh, sure." And then you just sang it your way.
Yeah.
And it's rangy, right? I mean, it goes all over.
Yes, it's rangy. Mm-hmm.
But it's fun for me to listen to, because it sort of has all the elements of what you do. You know, it has kind of the low vibey thing, and it's got the high breathy thing, and then it's got the sort of doubled ooze section that sort of exists for no reason whatsoever. Anyway, it's really one of the ones I'm most proud of, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think it's truly a masterpiece, and it was a bit of a family affair too, right? Then in the production of it, I mean, of course, you wrote the arrangement. I sang the lead vocal part, and then in the original video for it, which I think is already on my YouTube channel, it's Mom's artwork, right?
That's right. And Elijah edited it.
Yeah, Elijah edited the video.
That's right. All four of us were. Yeah. That's another sort of technique that we use kind of a lot, where you sing fragments of the song, and then in between those fragments, there's some musical thing that happens.
Yeah.
Like in that song, there's kind of a longish bass cadenza, and then you sing "Make Me Rainbows." This is the first 1, 2, 3 words. Yeah.
Yes.
3 words of the song, and then there's more mishigas that happens in between. So when you're in that situation, you know, because typically a singer sings the song,
right,
and a lot of times you're not afforded that. Like, you actually have to create vibe in very small bits, and that's kind of how this song, it's almost episodic, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
do one thing, and then it totally shift gears and it goes someplace else. So what's that like? Tell me.
It's hard. No, it's I mean, it's hard, but I remember when I was first recording that song, so I think that's before the version that we have today. But when I first was doing it for this big old thing, this Zoom thing you guys were doing, I was so nervous, because I wanted it to be good for you and for all those people who were going to be listening. I remember hearing that Sting was one of the people who was going to be on call.
He was on there. Barbara Streisand was on there.
I was like, okay, I'm a little stressed. But it was so I hammered out that song, man. I made sure that every single line that I sang was as in tune and emotionally adequate as possible. I would say that the first third of the song, it's very Kalen friendly. So I'm kind of in the middle of my range. It's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more moody, and I like that. And then it does all of a sudden jump to that very high, kind of breathy, vulnerable moment, I would say, of the song. And then it goes into that kind of the ooh moment that comes in, and that is kind of that's when I perform those specific things, I am definitely channeling a little bit more of a machine, because you're supposed to be producing this particular line, and it needs to be in time, in tune, all of those things, especially if it's repeating, if it's doubled. So that part I definitely go a little bit more into my machine.
Well, it's an instrumental sensibility.
Right.
One thing I like about, when it goes to the high part of that song, and y'all are going to have to go listen to see what we're talking about, is you're walking the tightrope there.
Oh yeah.
It's just you and a celeste, like a bell. There's nothing else happening. So you can hear every breath, you can hear all that stuff. And it's almost like you sort of embrace that, it's like, that, you could fall off in any second, but there's this, I got this kind of a thing.
Yep. Exactly.
It's a very cool moment of the song. And, just to draw on into the story here. So Alan Bergman called me up. Did I tell you this?
I don't think so.
He called me up maybe 2 days later.
Oh.
And, he said, I just wanted to tell you how much I loved what you did with that song. He was like kind of tearful on the phone and stuff. He's very emotional. He loves it when anybody does anything to his songs.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I was really a highlight for me. I was like, wow, so he actually liked it.
I'm glad, yeah.
He's the kind of dude that if he didn't like it, he wouldn't call.
Moving on to song number 8, Summer Breeze.
8.
Are you okay?
Well, inside joke.
With who?
Nobody.
Just yourself? That's sad.
Nobody that's going to be watching this.
Okay, I'm just going to remain lost. Summer Breeze, baby. Dad, what year was Summer Breeze written?
1972.
You are correct, my dude.
Bing, 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 bing.
So Summer Breeze, written in 1972 by, do you remember?
Jim Seals and Daryl Crofts. He was known as Dash.
Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting.
I actually met him once.
You did not.
Yeah, I did. He's a big jazz fan, actually, and he used to come to these. I used to work with this really great, fantastic old trumpet player named Jack Sheldon. You knew who he was.
Yeah.
Anyway, he used to have this Monday night gig at Catalina's in Hollywood years ago. And this when I was much younger and learning to play and really great, just a great scene. And Dash Crofts would come to the show sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And you listen to their music, Diamond Girl and all these other things, and you're like, oh yeah, you can sort of hear some tendrils of jazz in there. So when it came time to arrange this one, it kind of went to a real jazz place somehow.
I love it.
Who picked this song?
So I didn't know this song originally. I think it might have been the same kind of situation as Time in a Bottle, where you and Mom, full of your endless knowledge and wisdom, thought it would be a good song to cover. And I said, okay. I looked up Summer Breeze because, again, I was curious to know what it was about when they initially wrote it.
About a summer breeze.
You were right. It's literally about a really nice summer and just what we all love about summer. And the song they reference several times like visions of people eating meals together and just spending time together, and just lovely, having a lovely summer. This song, this was probably for me the hardest to record. It was a beast. And again, I love a challenge, so it did the thing, love the thing. Now it's one of my favorites that we have on the album.
Right, and it's probably the sort of musical setting against the lyrics is probably the least snug fitting.
Yeah.
Maybe of all. I mean, I just sort of had an idea, I went for it, and I thought, well, Kalen will make this work, and then you did. But it's Quinn Johnson is the one playing Rhodes.
Right.
I think we put him on last, and I was like, yeah, this sounds okay. And then as soon as he put his part on, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it all came together.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So it's really a fun thing to listen to. As with many of these arrangements, we left a part out. I left a part out. I did it on purpose because the lyric is, and I come home from a hard day's work and you're waiting there, not a care in the world. And I could never get with you singing that. First of all, to hear him sing it in the song is kind of uncomfortable a little bit, Yeah, she's just waiting there, It was like, I don't know. There was like a moment that, I mean, it's a cool song and everything, but that part of the song,
that part you were like,
I'm leaving this out,
Yeah, it's like one of those things. You can't have all the components. You gotta leave some out when we do our.
Plus, it goes harmonically. It goes to a weird place. So instead of that, we basically, you go into this thing where you sing as an instrument, along with everything else instead. And a peek behind the curtain, a lot of these songs were kind of built and done during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So that particular song, I think, I sit down at the piano typically and come up with the whole sketch. Beginning, I want this to go here harmonically, and that particular song has a lot of key changes that goes from
right.
places. Yeah. So it's all very important that everything fits together. But when I was doing it, everything sounded very chunky. Like it didn't. And I remember you said something to me about it. It's like, it sounds
very like sectional. Transitions are very
transitions.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, the way I can fix that is just record the band at the same time, because typically the way we did this, because of the pandemic, is I'd send people files, and they'd send me stuff back, and we'd compile stuff like that. But in this particular case, I had Ray Brinker, the drummer, and me. We booked some time up at Dragonfly Creek Studios in Malibu, and we took the demo and your voice, which I think it was a scratch.
Yeah, it was a scratch. Mm-hmm.
And we just recorded bass and drums from beginning to end.
Yeah.
No piano. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, okay, so now all these transitions are taken care of, because it just sort of glossed over all this stuff. And then after that, we put you on there because there's this very involved a cappella harmony thing in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And at the very end, we put Quinn playing Rhodes on there, which really brought everything together.
Right.
And then after I sent that to Paul, he's like, oh, I have some ideas here. So he ended up putting baritone guitar on there, some acoustic guitar, other electric guitar stuff, maybe some mandolin. I don't remember. But anyway, it's an example of one of those things where you starts out as an idea, and then as you add pieces, it inspires other musicians to hear it and go, oh, I can do this here. And that's that's the most fun, because then when it's all done, you realize, oh, you hear everybody's contribution.
Yeah.
And it's not anything like what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Collaboration, man. It's honestly, it's like a piece of art, in my opinion. Like, and I mean, I sang on it, and that's great. But what you came up with, you and your musician friend.
Oh no, it was me.
Okay, I'm glad you set the record straight.
It was all me.
Yeah. It was all you. Honestly, I think it was, but it feels like alive is a weird way to describe
No,
it. It's such like a just moving kind of, I don't know. It's just really, it's amazing.
There's also something to be said for what it does to you as a musician when you're not quite comfortable, right? Sort of power through something.
Yeah.
It's not fun at the time, but there's a lot of growth.
Yeah. There's probably an extra sense of motivation.
I mean, do you sense that in your singing? Because just because you had the misfortune of being born to me, you know, there was never a discussion of like, well, Kalen, are you interested? No, so you sit down and you're going to do this.
Yeah, that's how you talk to me all the time.
But there was never. I mean, there were a couple times I remember where you're like, yeah, I don't like this or whatever. But you always would go through that, and I think by and large, once you climb through that sort of unfortunate discomfort, you're kind of better for it.
Oh yeah. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, the discomfort and, oh, this sucks or whatever, that is entirely aimed at the self. Because yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm frustrated that I have to sing this particular song or that sometimes you write complicated stuff, because 10 times out of 10, you write brilliant stuff.
Oh, you don't have to say that.
Well, I'm being filmed.
How much money do you want?
But a lot of the times I look inwards and I'm like, the instrument is not doing what I want it to do. And that can be frustrating. But again, you were right, because when you persevere and you push until you get that take that you really like and that is correct, or, then it's very rewarding. It's very satisfying.
That's like the total musician frame of mind, though, is when something's not quite going right, you always blame you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rare. It's rare.
It's rare to blame. Yeah.
Why? I mean, first of all, there's that. Why is that guy playing like that? I mean, that's one thing. But why did that person write that? That's not playable. Or you never think that way.
Not
you
really.
Think, how come I can't play that? Okay.
Jinx.